What is up, everybody? I am Hoops and Hip Hop, and welcome back to another episode of the Pokeblock Podcast. Now, up to this point, I have sort of done this podcast on my own, and it's been a lot of fun, but I thought it was finally time to kind of try something new and actually bring on someone to talk to. So today, we have a very special guest. He's another PokeTuber and a great friend of mine, Mr. Bird Keeper Toby. Say hi, Toby.
Hey Hoops, hey Pokemon Masters, Bird Keeper Toby here. I'm special. I'm a special guest. I'm flattered. Thank you for having me on, mate.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm super excited because I've never had anyone on this podcast before. I've just kind of sort of done it on my own, and it's gonna be dope to just bounce off each other.
I like it, and it's gonna be a very kind of laid back way for us to kind of have a chat, which I think is nice because most of our collaborations that we've ever done have been very, I think, structured, scripted events, and so this is gonna be like behind the scenes, Hoops and Hip Hop, Bird Keeper Toby.
Right? Yeah. It's been like I send you my script, you send me your script, and it's kind of just like detached. We've never done like a live thing, almost. So
yeah. This is, I don't know, I'm kind of excited for this. This is going to be just, because we have calls like this occasionally anyway, where we're just chilling and talking about Pokemon, and so this is just, I assume, going to be just more of that, except for other people to listen to.
Right, yeah. I'm super excited. So we're going to be talking about, I thought in the spirit of Toby being a guest here, that we would talk about games that, like Pokemon games that would just be amazing to have, because we just barely got the announcement of new Pokemon Snap, which is a game that everyone has wanted, just like hypothetically, but we never thought would happen. And Toby actually does a Pokemon Snap series on his channel. So in the spirit of all that, I thought we would just get into that kind of conversation, talk about those types of games that would just be great, why they would be great, and all of that stuff. But right before we dive in, as always, got to give a huge thank you to the sponsors that make this podcast possible. So with that being said, today's episode is brought to you by the Tax Defense Group. The team of professionals at the Tax Defense Group are passionate about helping taxpayers resolve their tax debt. Their services include basic tax preparation, tax audits, resolving large tax debt, and more. They actively represent taxpayers throughout the entire USA, and if you need help resolving your tax issues, contact the Tax Defense Group. Call the Tax Defense Group today at 800-850-793 to get started. That number again is 800-850-7973, and you can visit them online at thetaxdefensegroup.com. And today's episode is also brought to you by Writer Junkie. Are you thinking of starting a business or a side hustle? For all businesses to be successful, you need a website. Writer Junkie offers website development, content writing, and SEO services for business websites. So call Writer Junkie today at 805-587-7966, and you can visit them online at writerjunkie.com. We also have a website too, ucaststudios.com. Be sure to check that out for all the goings on the channel. All right. So with that being said, Toby, since you're the guest, I feel you should get the first crack at a title, a game, something you would like to see. We've got our Pokemon Snap. First off, I mean, since we're doing this because of Pokemon Snap, is there anything in the new Pokemon Snap that you want to see happen that maybe you dreamed about when this was still not an actual thing?
I have a confession.
Right.
And this is because I got really lucky with the whole Pokemon Snap thing. I've not played Pokemon Snap.
What?
Okay. I've not played more than 5-10 minutes. Okay, maybe I'm over exaggerating. Let's go with an hour. Which I know the game in total is about an hour, but I spent most of that time, I think I played the first level, and I played mini games. When it came out, it was on the Nintendo 64, which I never had as a kid. And by the time I got around to playing it, I was at university doing it as part of a charity stream. And I was like, oh yeah, that'll be fun. I've never played that before. And I made the series about Todd Snap entirely because I was told I looked like the character. And I looked at him and I was like, oh yeah, we do have pretty similar hair. I could buy a shirt that looks like that. Okay then. The project got delayed for about a year. And then I released it, and 2 weeks later they announced new Pokemon Snap, and everyone's like, Pokemon Snap, Toby's the guy, he's a prophet, he worked this out, and it's all a big scandal, it's all a big lie. I don't know that much.
That's actually super surprising. That's
I know.
That's hilarious.
That's the inside scoop on it all.
That's actually really surprising. But I guess we do kind of have, like, we all have the games that we didn't play, you know, that we're kind of ashamed to admit. I know I have one or two or more than a couple.
What was the one that you haven't played?
So I've played like a teeny bit of XD Gale of Darkness, but not a lot. And the time that I did play it was only like 2 years ago. So I've hardly touched that game.
I have just played through it for the first time since I first played it when it came out, and I've had such a good time playing it. Those games are phenomenal.
Yeah, I played through Coliseum. I didn't technically beat it because I could not beat the final boss. I just like gave up. But I played the whole game and I loved it. So I'm definitely down to play XD at some point. And like that is another type of game that I would love to see hypothetically, is either like a third like game to that to make those games a trilogy, or a spiritual successor of some kind that like has the same style and it's on the console. And
I'm ready for that spiritual successor. I think because really it was Pokemon Stadium 2, Pokemon Coliseum, Gale of Darkness, and then Battle Revolution. But Battle Revolution went back to the roots by removing any element of story.
Right.
And I think the stories of those spin-off games, they were allowed to be far more adventurous and quirky. The whole idea of Shadow Pokemon, Mirror B. I mean, at one point in Gale of Darkness, the evil villain sort of suggests that the island that they're on should be blown up with the characters on them, and it's like really dark, and I'm like, wow, that would not appear in a mainline Pokemon game.
Yeah.
And I want that. I'm really craving that.
Yeah, I think like, I mean, the first major appeal of those games was the fact that it was a console game and it was more like a main actual Pokemon game. Because like at the time, obviously that was the thing that everyone wanted. So that was the first big appeal in my opinion. The second big appeal, I think, was that it had more of a story to it, and that story, like you said, was more gritty. It was like not like just like dark and like mature, but it was more just like you were dealing with this like underground criminal organization, and like you were shadow Pokemon that were evil. It was like more, it was grittier. It just had more of that.
And even in the way that it throws you into the game, like in the first game, in Gale of Darkness, the first thing that happens, the professor gets kidnapped and you have to go to an evil team underground base to go and rescue the professor. What Pokemon game does that in the first 10-20 minutes? None.
Right.
You look at the main series, the professor isn't getting kidnapped until, badge 6 or 7, right? But this one, it's just like, here you go. And I think what I would crave, and I don't know if you'll probably agree with me because we're older Pokemon fans, than maybe the intended audience now. But when you look to games like, Sword and Shield, Sun and Moon, X and Y, they're directed at everyone. And then you've got games that are more specifically oriented towards younger kids, which I think we see in a lot of the other spin-off titles. And I imagine Snap might be in part that, but certainly like Cafe Mix and stuff. And that's not to shame anyone. If you like Cafe Mix, that's great. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Pokemon Smile, certainly. You've got games directed towards casuals in Pokemon Go, which, I love Pokemon Go, and so many people can just play Pokemon Go and not be interested in the rest of the series. And I know it's niche, but as a hardcore fan, I'd love a game that's just directed more at hardcore fans. And I think we see that from time to time. Pokemon Conquest a long time ago, which I never played. Pokken Tournament felt like it was dedicated towards a very specific niche audience within Pokemon.
Right.
Maybe this Pokemon MMO. Is it? No, not an MMO.
MOBA.
It's the MOBA. Yeah, maybe the MOBA's going to be again. And I just want a Pokemon adventure that has that kind of like, this is for people who have played before. Enjoy.
Right.
From the get-go.
And kind of the most frustrating part with that is the fact that we've seen things like Coliseum and XD, and even into the animated series with like Generations and like you even say Twilight Wings, where they do this more mature thing but it's still completely accessible to anyone. You can't tell me that like a 7-year-old boy isn't gonna enjoy the crap out of like those types of things, like Coliseum Generations. Like, they're gonna love that. So like, that's the type of thing that really appeals to everyone, because it's still appropriate and like enjoyable for younger kids, but it's not like something that's going to be inappropriate for them either. But then it's like the amount of mature that's like appeals to us as like older adults. So
no one's talking about like Pokemon decapitating each other or storylines that tackle I don't know, like alcohol or smoking or something. I don't know. No one's talking about that stuff. Right. What we're talking about is just a Pokemon game with a little bit more edge that kind of assumes that you've played a Pokemon game already and you're looking for some challenge.
It's just it's just all in the tone, because like the tone they go for, it's either like with a lot of the stuff, it's like sunshine, rainbows, happy-go-lucky, like especially in the anime. And they, in the stuff that we've seen, like Generations, it's more so like, I don't know how to describe it other than it's just more mature. You just feel it. It's kind of like, it has a little more tension to it. And I kind of do feel like whether it's sooner or later that we are going to get a game that's like that, whether it's spin-off or main series or whatever, because I feel like right now where the franchise is at, where the series is at, and like how much feedback the fans are able to give Game Freak and the Pokemon Company, I kind of feel like we're to a tipping point where they have sort of tried to resist, in a sense, going too far in that direction because they want to keep it accessible to everyone. But I kind of feel like eventually they're going to give in, just because there's such a big, strong demand for something like that. And
I think so.
I feel like eventually it'll happen.
I get why. I don't know. I mean, this is a very British thing, but I don't know if you ever watched Doctor Who. But when I was watching Doctor Who, there was 2 spin-off shows. There was one called The Sarah Jane Adventures, and this is going somewhere, I promise, and one called Torchwood. And the Sarah Jane Adventures, Doctor Who is like, it's E for everyone, right? Kids can watch it and enjoy. There might be the occasional scary episode with an alien or a monster, but there's no swearing in it. There's no references to kind of more adult themes. And then you've got Sarah Jane Adventures, which has basically nothing scary in it. Like, it's all brightly lit and the aliens are colorful and that kind of thing. But then Torchwood is exclusively the kind of grittier, more adult themes, the darker side of the universe. And I think what you found is that if you watched, like, it's like barrier to entry as you go up. Someone who enjoys Doctor Who could enjoy Doctor Who or Sarah Jane Smith Adventures, but someone who enjoys those things might not enjoy Torchwood, whereas like, this was going somewhere, but now it's gone off the rails. Help me finish my thought here, Hoops.
So basically,
it's like a barrier to entry thing,
right?
Know?
So basically, you're saying that there should be some sort of thing that's like, you maybe as just a person who's like a casual level fan to not even a fan of Pokemon. The main series games as they stand right now, maybe they don't appeal to you, but if they came out with some sort of like steampunk Pokemon game that was set in this like apocalyptic future or something, like just something out of left field,
I'd be game for it.
That type of game would appeal to Pokemon fans, but it's also gonna grab some of those people who just like think they're too cool for the Pokemon games that are out right now.
Nice save. Nice, perfect save. Thank you. It's like, I tell you what it's like. It's like Let's Go is the, for lack of a better term, and again, I enjoyed Let's Go, the baby level game. The main series is just the main series that appeals to everyone.
Right.
And then, you have those games, those peaks at it, like Coliseum and XD, and we just want something else that's up in that tier of...
Yeah.
It can be a spin-off game. Just have those same core mechanics, but give it that grit, give it that edge. But I feel like I'm barking on the same point over and over again. So
yeah, we really do need, like, Let's Go, that was a really good point, because Let's Go is kind of the one end of the spectrum that's like younger kids specifically, and so we need something on the other end of the spectrum too, because I really only think that's fair. And I say this as someone who loves Let's Go. I think the Let's Go games are like, they're super delightful. The art style is just like, I think it's perfect for Pokemon, and I really do want to see another Let's Go game. But at the same time, we need that more mature other side of the thing. But kind of, I guess, switching things up a little bit in terms of the type of game we're talking about. Since we did get Pokemon Snap, and that's kind of like, it's been a really like hallelujah type of moment for everyone. Another game on that same level that people have always wanted is another Pokemon Stadium. So I guess, do you think another Pokemon Stadium is possible? What would you like to see if we ever got one? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, again, it kind of follows in the same vein where I'm wanting that game that we're talking about, that shadow game with the story. But if you remove the story, what you have with Pokemon Colosseum and Yellow Darkness is just sequels to Pokemon Stadium. And then it kind of, the last one of those was Battle Revolution. And lots of people criticize Battle Revolution for not having a story. Personally, I had a lot of fun with that game when I was younger. I liked the Colosseums that you would kind of go through. They would each get a little bit harder. Each one would have its own gimmick. And then there was, you could then take on Master Mode, and the trainers were even harder, and they would start using competitive strategies. I distinctly remember one of the trainers sends out a Steelix, and they send out a Ghost Pokemon, and the Steelix uses Explosion, so the Ghost Pokemon isn't hit. And it's just like, that's a really smart strategy that the AI is using. Great, I can learn from that, and it'll help me take on the stadium next time. And yeah, I just think something like that, and again with more flashy animations, would be gorgeous.
Right, yeah.
What about you?
So yeah, I absolutely think it can happen. There was actually a quote, and I want to say it was from Masuda, like several years ago, about just the idea of another stadium. And he said, I'm pretty sure it was him, that the reason why they made Stadium in the first place was to put Pokemon into 3D, so people could see like 3D battles. That was the main appeal of it. Now that 3D is just standard, that kind of, in their view, that appeal just doesn't make as much of an impact. And so if they were to make another one, it would have to have something that could have a draw, is basically the way it was put. And I kind of like can see that viewpoint, but I also think like Pokemon Stadium is just like a legacy title. Like you could put it on the virtual console, you could make a new one that's literally just like, you could like remake the old ones and people would buy it just because it's a classic. So there's a ton of nostalgia value there, but I do also believe there's a ton more they can do with it outside of just like being battles. Like one of the best things about Pokemon Stadium isn't even the battles, it's the mini games. Like like it's almost like Mario Party-esque, and people love the mini games, and I would love to have another stadium just for that. But then there's also just a lot of other cool like game modes that make the battles just that much more fun. Like you had there was obviously the League Cups where you could battle as like only baby Pokemon or only like certain types of Pokemon. You had the Gym Leader Castle where you got to face all the gym leaders, and then if you beat all them, you faced the Elite Four, and then you faced Blue in the first one anyway. And then there was that whole thing where you got to unlock Mewtwo, and Mewtwo was just like insanely powerful. They like packed so much into that game that it's actually kind of crazy. There was even like event Pokemon that you could earn and transfer into your main game, and they could go crazy with that today. So I think I think like the possibilities are like just endless almost. So
I think that's maybe something Pokemon's even missing, is a party style game. Like I think when you're over with friends and you've all got your Switch consoles, let's play some Mario Kart, let's play some Smash Bros. That's a very easy thing that everyone, you pick up, you go. But with Pokemon, let's play some Pokemon. Oh, what tier of team are we using? Is it competitive?
Yeah.
Is it not competitive? The idea of having a party game that's just covered in Pokemon's kind of decals, and
right, yeah,
I think Pokemon could use that.
Yeah, they absolutely need a party game in their wheelhouse, because that just exposes the brand more. Like, there's 1.5 million people who have never played a Mario game in their life, but they know all the Mario characters because of Mario Kart, because it's just that super casual, accessible level type of thing, to where everyone can get in and enjoy it, and it's a really good entry point. So, like, if they made, like, even if they made, like, literally a Mario Party game, but it was Pokemon, so not even, like, the stadium battles, it was just mini games, that would be amazing, because it's just a game that you can pick up and play right away. It would be a ton of fun. Like you said, it's the game that you can play when you're just like over with friends and you want to play with multiple people. So that's like that is another one that I feel like is a must, especially because it seems like Pokemon's trying to sort of expand their reach. That's kind of why they're doing the whole MOBA Pokemon Unite thing. They're trying to get into that genre. So I think this is another genre they should absolutely look into.
I'll be honest, I'm more for spin-off games that add story and flavor to the world. Like, as you know, I'm a big fan of Pokemon lore and theories and stuff, and I think, like, you know, I think the reason that Colosseum and Gale of Darkness captivate me so much more than Stadium or Battle Revolution is there's this region, and there is this evil team, and there are these characters, and they're doing shady things, and there's legendary Pokemon there, and what are they doing there, and, you know, why are there no wild Pokemon in these regions, you know, and who the heck is Mirror B? We gotta learn more about that guy. These things are interesting, and they add appeal and flavor to the Pokemon world in a really charming way. And I think nowadays, in particular with Pokemon, Pokemon used to be designed based off of animals, concepts, that kind of thing. But now, like, you look at like a Pokemon like Orbeetle, it's a evil scientist, ladybug, spaceship, radar system with mind control powers, and it's like, okay, that is super, super, super cool. But there is also room for just some side games that, you know, have just a cool region that, you know, it doesn't need to have loads and loads of thoughts. Like, I know that the All region is based off of Arizona, right?
Right.
But aside from that, that doesn't play a part in anything else to do with the region.
Right.
And that's fine. That's enough. Like, just build out the world a little bit more in a more relaxed kind of way. Have an evil team that has evil motives that are just, like, there for the sake of it. Like, you know, just flesh out the world. And so I'll always want that more, personally.
Oh yeah, like, I'm the same way. Like, if you gave me a choice between like a Pokemon party game and Colosseum 3, I'm taking that every day. Like, that is, I'm totally in agreement with you there. But I'm just saying, like, in terms of just, like, I guess you could call it the Pokemon family of products, or family of games, if you will. I feel like it could serve the Pokemon company really well to have a game like that, because there are certain games like your Swords and Shields, like your main series games, and then like your primary spin-off ones that are like, those are the core like games that are just there to, like, that's what Pokemon is. But then there's certain games like Pokemon Smile is actually a really good example, that are specifically made to target a certain audience to get them into Pokemon. That's what, like, Smile is. That's what Unite is going to be, I imagine. They're made to get people into Pokemon. So that's their role that they serve. And a party game, I feel like, would be another good type of game like that just, like, exposes people to Pokemon that in a way that, like, the main series games might not necessarily be able to.
Yeah. You know, there's so many genres of games when you I don't know, that you could go into. One of them I'm thinking is, I played this game called Slay the Spire. I don't know if you know Slay the Spire, or anyone listening. I wonder if there could just be like a Pokemon version of that. It's basically you have a tower filled with creatures, and on every floor you add a card to your deck, and you use this deck to defeat the creatures. I don't know, imagine just like a Pokemon game that's just really out there, where you've just got like this big Pokemon dungeon you're crawling through, and right. I don't know, building specific combinations of teams to take on the tower, and if you die, you get sent back to the beginning. I know, isn't that kind of like Binding of Isaac, or they called roguelikes, maybe?
I don't know. I want to say, like, it kind of sounds to me like a tower defense game, almost. But I don't know if that's...
No, that's not what I'm describing, but I'm describing it poorly. Yeah. There's so many genres that Pokemon could go into.
Oh yeah, I think we're heading towards the end of our time. So
sure.
One more game I did want to bring up though before we finish is it's probably the kind of game that I want to see the most, but it's also kind of like the most just like not gonna happen type of game, like the most unlikely, and that's like some kind of Pokemon origin story type of game that like gets set in like more of the past of the Pokemon world, not like super far, but far enough to where like Pokeballs aren't a thing, or like you don't have the Pokedex, maybe you don't even have like your Pokemon League structure necessarily, but it plays in the same way where you catch Pokemon, you build your team and you're like facing off against this like evil organization, and in the process of that you get to learn like maybe they explain how Pokeballs were created, because that really hasn't been talked about in terms of like the games too much, like how they were created, who created them. You could meet like younger versions of characters depending on the region you were in. I think that kind of thing would just be amazing. Kind of like almost like Zelda Skyward Sword for Pokemon, because that game kind of like it explained a lot of stuff for Zelda, and something like that for Pokemon would be awesome.
I would love the idea of any game set in the history of the Pokemon world, because every game is set, modern day. It's like this is the latest thing using later and even future technologies. And I agree with you. It would be so cool to see.
Yeah.
50 years ago, 100 years ago, 500 years ago if you want to go nuts.
Right. And there's...
What did the Pokemon world look like then?
Yeah, exactly. Like the most popular, I think, concept online that sort of like relates to this idea is the whole, it's like Pokemon Generation Zero. The idea is that, I don't know if this was like a ROM hack or it was going to be a ROM hack or something, but the idea of it was that you played in Kanto, but it was in the past, and your player characters were a young Professor Oak or a young Agatha. And
yeah,
like something literally just like that would be...
It's an image. I don't think it's a ROM hack. I think it's an image that circulated online of just someone pitching this idea.
Right,
that image saved. And yeah, I think it would be a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
And I think it would be cool to visit regions, years on as well, where things have changed and how they've changed.
Yeah, even the opposite end of that spectrum, where it was like, because the only time we've ever seen a region like years after the fact is Kanto in the Gold and Silver games, and that was so cool because like you got to see how like the Pokemon Tower is now a radio tower for some reason. That's super crazy. You got to see how Blue is now the gym leader in Viridian City, and Cinnabar Island is gone. It exploded or erupted or whatever.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be cool to see like Celadon City before it was a booming metropolis,
Yeah.
And more forest land is there, and they're just talking about opening up this, big city, or like, I don't know, maybe Mount Moon is
like, you have
where
to,
am I going
you
with
have
this?
to go, like Mount Moon hasn't been like excavated because they haven't started the fossil project or whatever. So you have to like there's a whole other route you have to take to get to Cerulean City.
Yeah.
Just like,
and different elements of the story, take place in different areas. So rather than it all builds up to the Pokemon League, where the Pokemon League building, or maybe the League building isn't there. Maybe it all culminates in a big tournament that's happening in Saffron City, and so you've got everything, builds up towards that, and maybe you don't even start in the same town. Like, that stuff would be so cool.
Right, yeah, like, imagine you start in, like you could start in Cinnabar Island, let's say, and maybe, like, you go through your game, and you have this big final tournament thing at the end, and then maybe the game sort of, like, ends off with the characters implying that like we should create a league or surrounding this, or like we need to like form this into like a proper thing, and sort of like alludes to like the creation of the standard gym system that can kind of like carry you into those modern games. Just something that
I'd be so up for that.
Yeah, just something that like connects all of the dots. I think I would prefer one that's in like the past. I like that idea more, but also just the future. Like if they did any sort of like they could make a sequel to any of the literally any of the Pokemon games, just pick one. Like take me back to Hoenn, but it's like 5 years after Ruby and Sapphire. Like do that with any region and that would be awesome too.
Totally agree. I think the general consensus that I get from this conversation is what you and I would both really like, as well as a wider roster of ways to interact with Pokemon with the party games, is just a Pokemon adventure that's, just the opposite end of the scale to Let's Go, where rather than being accessible to everyone, it's specifically designed for players of the franchise already who are well invested and want something a little bit richer and a little bit more flavoursome. I think that's kind of a good way to kind of conclude the thoughts together.
Yeah, and I do, like I said, I do have faith. It's gonna be interesting. Like I feel like you can say this at any point in time, but like the future of Pokemon is gonna be very interesting because we've just come off this like rough patch, if you will, with Sword and Shield. Even though it was like tremendously successful and awesome, it was still very rough. And now we're sort of like slowly moving on from that, and now we're about to hit a very exciting time next year with the 25th anniversary. Whatever happens there is going to be huge and big. I'm personally banking on the Diamond and Pearl remakes happening.
Oh yeah.
I just think that makes sense. But just whatever they do is going to be huge, and then even what we're seeing for like the Sword and Shield expansions, how they're sort of like they're improving like on Sword and Shield right before our eyes, with just like the world being like the areas being so much better in the expansions, and like having the full access to the 3D camera and the open world. Like we're seeing those improvements being made like on the fly, and so just like getting to the point where that's like the standard, which is like pretty much on the horizon, is super exciting.
I think we're about to enter a kind of what I'm going to call the second golden age of Pokemon. Or third, I don't know. I think it's, all about to kick off. A few years ago, Pokemon doesn't do DLC, don't be silly. Pokemon wouldn't do a MOBA, don't be silly. Pokemon would never bring back Pokemon Snap, don't be silly.
Yeah.
Well, Pokemon would never make a game for hardcore fans. I'm saying don't be silly. Just look out for the future. I think it's likely.
Yeah, that is a great way to put it. And I think that's a great way to end off, because that's like about all the time we have. But with that being said, dude, it was super, super fun to have you on. You were the best first guest I could have ever asked for. And
I rambled, and I'm still rambling. Thank you for having me, my dude.
Absolutely. We'll definitely... Like I said, this is the first time I've had someone on, and I'm gonna try and like have a bunch of other people on just to pick people's brains, but I imagine I'll definitely have you on again sometime, because it's just been too fun to not. With that said though, thank you all so much for listening. Be sure to follow wherever you're at. Want to give another quick shout out to our sponsors. Be sure to check them out with the links below if you're on YouTube, and if you're also on YouTube, leave us some comments. Let us know what you think of the format, the conversation, all that stuff. And be sure to follow Bird Keeper Toby as well. He's on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. He's a wonderful guy, so be sure to check him out. And with that said, I'll be back next Friday as well with another episode right here. So until then, as always, I love you guys, take care, and I'll smell you guys later.